Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Before we start today's debate, we are actually joined by Paul and Sleeping Warrior. I'm not 100% sure whether or not we'll get either of them, as Paul's just dropped and Sleeping Warrior has been away from his mic for about the last 10 minutes. So hopefully we'll get a hello from him. Can you hear us, Sleeping Warrior? No, of course not. Well, this will be a fairly punctuated, shall we say, pre-show. If we don't get any conversation out of the joining panel. However, as this is a Thursday, this particular pre-show and after show will go out after the main live show goes out on the main channel, but on the after show part on the after channel on the second channel. If I can get my words out. So it will go out anyway on the second channel, and I'm more than happy to actually let the long silences drag out on the second channel. However, on the second show on a Thursday, it actually gets broadcast the following day on the main channel, so on a Friday for the second live show. So it goes out live on the second channel, then I broadcast it as a premiere on the main channel because I turn it off after it's finished live. Anywho, occasionally I'll forget that small detail and then start the pre-show and think, I'll just go off and make a coffee or whatever, and and then I realise, oh no, this is like the main part, the bit where everyone's just tuning into the show on the main channel, because it's going out as a premiere, isn't it? So the recording's really important. But in this instance, it's going out to only the dedicated fans that are much more forgiving, the people who are subscribed to the second channel. I should really plug that. So if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, then subscribe, because you're watching this on the second channel, Nathan Oakley, as opposed to Nathan Oakley 1980. So I should really plug it in the main channel. That's where people will actually subscribe if they're not already, because the chances are if you're watching and listening to this, you're already subscribed to Nathan Oakley, and you're already keen to listen to the Uncut and After Show. So there we go. Just released a little snippet of an explanation regarding, I don't even know what the guy's called. I know Anthony's, I was going to discuss it with him, he's not here, but he's addressed a couple of his videos now in Sleeping Warrior channel. Billy Blue Balls is what QE calls him. I don't know what he's called. Anyway, this dude with a pipe. So he's got this great big long pipe, and he's claiming he has no container, or he's demonstrated gas pressure without a container because it's an open-ended pipe. So we were discussing it on yesterday's debate, and my explanation I'll just give now to fill time till Anthony gets back. So a tyre is the equivalent of this pipe. In other words, it's a container with a surface area. Now, if you put a screw into your tyre, it's then got an effective hole. There's a gap that the air can escape through. Now, if any of you have had a slow puncture, you'll probably realise that you can drive around with a slow puncture for quite a long time. Because you've got a hole doesn't mean that the... Is that you coming back, Anthony?
Yeah.
You've got a lot of feedback. Can you turn your speakers down a bit? And Paul, how are you doing?
Won't be any feedback now.
No, that's perfect.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, I'm gonna be on, but may not be talking much. I'm gonna hold my place. I'll be back. I'll be able to talk here in a little bit. I just want to hold my place.
No worries. I'll just finish off my explanation. So you've got a tyre, and it's got a given surface area, a number of inches squared that you can press upon if you're a gas. Now, each time a single molecule of gas collides with the wall, it's obviously going to stay inside the tyre. Now, every so often, one of those molecules of gas will hit the hole instead of hitting the wall, and then it'll escape. Now, that obviously is dictated by time. The same exact principle applies to the pipe. The molecules of butane, which is actually a heavier gas than the air that it's being put into in the pipe in its container. Now, that doesn't stop the effects of entropy, because the gas that's containing it is still moving in all directions. It does slow down the effects of entropy, but with enough time, enough movement of the air will take place so that the butane will just disperse. It just takes time. So while you can slow down the effects, the analogy is exactly the same as with the tyre. There is an effective route for the gas to escape, but whether or not it hits another molecule of gas or a wall of the container, rather than making its way out through the hole, is just a question of time. In other words, entropy, which is dictated by time, will still take effect. But the fact that it has walls, something for the gas to collide with, makes it a container. In the same way you wouldn't describe a bucket as not being a container, or a tyre with a hole as not being a container, because there is a route for the gas to escape. Now, to bring this back on track to why this is all being discussed, the Earth is alleged to be a little marble. So there are no sides, no walls, no nothing. It's essentially completely open to the vacuum of space that is alleged to be there in the sky. Now, our argument would be that it's completely open to a lower pressure system. So the gas which is wanting to expand in all directions, rather than pressing on the side of a pipe and missing the hole, or pressing on the side of a tyre and missing the hole, there is no tyre, there is no pipe, there's just a vacuum next to it, and the gas would rapidly expand in all directions and fill that space, leaving us on Earth at 10 to the minus 17 torr when it reached equilibrium, which would be pretty damn quickly given that there's a massive differential between the gas we experience here and what they claim the sky is, a vacuum. So that's the point of this explanation. There's been a moron that's basically put together a container with a hole in it and said, there you go, there's no container. No, I'm afraid not. In the same way a tyre with a hole is still a container. It's just going to succumb to the effects of entropy each time a molecule hits the hole. Same principle applies. But you're only going to get a PSI value if you can measure something that's got walls to press upon. A PSI value per square inch, yeah? Well, we're saying give us that gas pressure without anything that's got a PSI value to take from. In other words, no container, no per square inch. Now you might go, well, how am I going to get the value? Well, that's precisely the point. The necessary antecedent is a container. First, you have the container, then you have the gas pressure. Without the container, there can be no pressure. I was chatting about this because you taking on this guy in terms of gravity at the moment, right?
Who, me?
This is
Do you mean Blue Marble Science?
Okay, I didn't know his name. I was calling him Billy Blue Balls.
Yeah, the guy's a muppet. I don't understand how you can be so. Do you know, if I did what he's done, I would get slaughtered by the ballers. And I've challenged Fight the Flat Earth to address it, and he's just turned a blind eye to it. It's like, I mean, I get criticised for deleting comments. Yeah, I only really delete the comments that are like vitriolic or overly personal. I don't mind if you disagree with me. I encourage it. I might not always respond to you. I'll generally leave your comment up there unless one of the mods deletes it on my behalf. But this guy, Fight the Flat Earth, I've said to him, look, if I deleted, it's not that I deleted. What I did was I put a video up, made a couple of points in the video, and the conclusion of the video and the bit in the middle, the meat in the middle, was like basically removed when he did this so-called analysis. And what he did was I used a pregnant pause just before the conclusion of my point. And he cut the video at the pregnant pause, which was basically getting rid of my concluding point, and then passed it off as though that was the end of the video, and then laughed at me as a result of it. And I'm like, oh my God, you've literally pissed in my face with the point I was making by removing it and then laughing at me for the points that I wasn't making. And I'm like, that guy, I cannot understand how it's acceptable in his head to do that. So when I mentioned to Fight the Flat Earth, I said, come on. I said, if it was me that did this, you'd be going mad. I said, you need to address this because you need to call your peer out. And he thinks that it's okay. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I can't believe it. We are literally dealing with the most dishonest of people. It's unbelievable. And they project their own dishonesty onto me, you, all our people on our side. We get called all the names under the sun. Yeah, they are the ones that are the most dishonest people I have ever met in my life. It's unbelievable.
They're also quite stupid. I made a comment on one of your replies which had Fight the Flat Earth in, so I was watching your video, and I noticed that some complete moron had said with independent variables, and you're like, there's only one context where that makes sense, which is to say if you're describing multiple experiments and you're referring to your independent variables because there's multiple experiments with independent singular on their own alone.
Yeah.
That's the only context. Whereas they're contextualizing it as though, where they have to have a mathematical correlation, well, that means there's independent variables. Well, yeah, you can have as many as you like in mathematics. But we're not doing mathematics, we're doing science, independent on its own. So you've got these two idiots basically fight the flat earth and this other dude saying, yeah, he's right, independent variables. You're like, no, do you not understand English? Do you not know what independent means? Wow, you guys are basically retarded. You can't speak English properly.
You can't. Honest to God, Fight the Flat Earth claims that he's got dyslexia, right?
Oh,
It's
well,
not
that'll be an
dyslexia.
explanation. Yeah, I'll take it all back. I shouldn't have been quite so harsh on him. Okay. Independent means on its own. So independent variables in the context of science is a contradiction in terms. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, he claims to be dyslexic. Now, I'll give him a little bit of leeway if he is dyslexic, but that doesn't mean that you don't know the difference between TO and TOO. That's not dyslexia. That's bad grammar. That's not knowing your English. That's not knowing the difference between knowing your shit and knowing your shit. You know what I mean? Well,
Yeah.
that's his position, but I want to do, when we start in a bit, I've got a killer presentation to do about implied causation within scientific method. You can't do it, basically, but I'm going to show you a good example of where and how you can't do it, why you can't do it, and cross-reference it with what they do with gravity. Because every time they get an opportunity to plead gravity, they do it. But every time they do it, it's implied. Can't do it in scientific method. These ballers don't get it. Drive me fucking mad. They're fucking knobheads.
Before you do, I'll preface it by saying this. An independent variable is, first and foremost, real. Secondly, based on the fact that it's real, you must be able to vary and manipulate that which you, and this is the third thing, presume is the cause. So it must be real, you must be able to vary and manipulate it, and it is your presumed cause of the effect. That's what an independent variable is.
It's embarrassing. I was listening to some of Jose's most recent hangout. I don't listen to it as a rule. I just go in and type in my name in the open transcript bit and see what's been said about me in my absence. And some of the conversations that these ballers, this what's it called? Is it Bob the no science guy? He's absolutely garbagely polluting people's mind with nonsense. It's really bad. I heard him arguing that you couldn't have a fish tank as a container for gas pressure because if you spilt it, it'd spill the gas. Well, you can have a fish tank as a container for gas, you moron. Just because it doesn't have a lid doesn't make it not a container. It's got containment. Gas pressure can be created.
Morons are so used to having these false equivalences put in front of them, like sulfur hexafluoride. And they go, oh, there you go, look, it's in a fish tank. You go, do you have any idea how dense that gas is?
Yeah.
Or butane. It's like, do you think we're breathing butane? This is ludicrous.
Even so, though, we can still use it to demonstrate the point that you need to have the container to have the gas pressure. I can't believe that he thinks that he did a demonstration with a pipe with an open end to it and thinks that somehow qualified him to entitle his video "Gas Pressure Without a Container." It's just moronic. Honest to God, it's just so blatantly, obviously a container, and he doesn't want to accept that it is because he knows he's made a mistake.
All they're doing is dressing up the straw man argument of a gas pressure gradient. What comes first, gas pressure or gas pressure gradient? Gas pressure comes first, so it needs something to press upon. This is the same old straw man. Yeah, it's dressed up with a video and a demonstration with a container and something to measure how much pressures per inch of the container. That's where he gets his value from, the Muppet. So he also, like the sulfur hexafluoride example, wheels in the gas he's going to use in a container. Like, no,
I think what we need to do. I think what we need to do is we need to use conspiracy cats. You know where he draws his little balloon and he draws a circle and he goes dot 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 dot, and then he draws his arrows pointing on the insides of the balloon pushing out. We need to get a picture of the Earth in space from, say, what's it called, Lagrange 1, and ask them to put arrows on the picture for us for where the gas pressure is pointing, and obviously it's got to point up, and we'll say, okay, what's it pushing off, dickhead? Well, it's gravity. Oh, really? Any evidence for that? Nope. They won't even admit it, though.
Even with gravity, you know, this is quite old now. It probably won't make me chuckle this time around, but I've heard John on multiple occasions when they go gravity, you go, okay, no worries. Same question, but with gravity on your side, you can use both. Have them both at full effect, 100%. Newtonian, Cavendish, and Einsteinian. So, yeah, have the both, full effect. Now demonstrate gas pressure without a container by way of gravity. On your pop.
Yeah. No beds.
Good morning.
Hey,
Hey.
Black icon. Subtle. Don't see you joining.
How come my icon doesn't show up?
I don't know.
Have you got your web camera accidentally enabled?
Is it enabled?
Is it in the top middle? Is it red or is it black for your webcam?
I'm on an iPad. There's no red.
Oh, right. Oh, I assumed you were on a PC.
Tap the screen.
If you ever look around your icons on screen, you should see one of them.
Tap the screen first so that it brings up all the icons for the Hangout, and then see if the camera icon is lit or unlit. If it's unlit, it thinks you've got your camera on.
Gotcha. Anyway,
Go on.
I think I might change my name to Greenhouse Without a Greenhouse.
Yeah. I like that, Tenth Man, because you typically use examples that you've got first-hand experience in. In other words, you can qualify your example by experience, and that makes most of the examples you give very concise. You know, as much as you got criticism the other day from John for not being concise. When it's a first-hand experience example, you can summarise it in about 10 words, and it's really obvious what you're saying. You're saying, look, I put a plastic cover over these greenhouses, presumably they're, you know, like a fish tank until you put the cover over. And if I do, I retain heat. Yeah, it's retaining it because it's contained. If I take the cover off, it's not contained and it all escapes. It's just that simple. And I think the response you got was something like, I deny the antecedent of containment. Or something like that.
Well, it was, I mean, I'm sorry I had to go because the guy basically said he doesn't believe that works that way, and yet here he is trying to tell us how the Earth works. I mean, so elementary.
Yep. These people are fundies.
I said, why did I spend $400 on the cover then? I might as well be a Glober and not have a cover.
Yeah. What I really, really want is all of the benefits of the air pressure around the rim of my wheel, but without the really inconvenient expense of all the rubber containment it needs to keep the pressure there. So I just want the tyre pressure, but without the tyre itself. So I want the pressure to just wrap itself around that wheel and then, you know, impact, no problem. You've got a cushy layer of air at pressure between you and the road. Forget the tyre, that's just too expensive. You know, forget the second law of thermodynamics. Entropy is easy to negate if you've got a fundamentalist religious belief in a sky vacuum, apparently. But yeah, I go into the garage and go, see that compressor? Just stick it on the metal rim and make it stay there without the tyre, because that's what I really want. Surely that'll only cost me 50p to run the compressor for a few minutes.
Why would you need a compressor?
Yeah, I said a similar thing to John yesterday when we were talking about a slow puncture. I was like, yeah, you got to go to the compressor, right? What do you need that for?
Oh, man.
2 minutes and we'll start live.
Well,
I'm having a bit of drink. I'll be back.
Didn't what's it? Brenda? We tried to do the same thing with Brenda with a straw and water a couple of days before. Like, how do you get that water out of the cup without a straw? And the sides of the straw giving the pressure as your lungs pull out that water.
Oh, these people are morons. You put a hole in a tyre and suddenly they think it's not a container anymore. Like, yeah, entropy's going to take effect. Even with a hole. It's just not a very effective container. It's not sealed anymore. These people
they
are
gotta
idiots.
get better. They gotta get better than this.
Check. Thought it was funny in one of the pre-shows. I think Flat and Earth joined. I was like, "Can I just check your mic?" He goes, check one, sibilance." It's just comic.
So whatever ended up with is it Rufus? Rufum? What was his
He
name?
told Anthony, after asking him to Google search a specific term, to stick his dictionary up his arse, and then he ran away. Right, the hand
Well,
later
he did.
came on and pointed out that he was accused. It's like Anthony was just saying, it's always projection. So he wants a very specific definition to be looked at. But yeah, when John goes to the definition, he's like, it's the dictionary fallacy. You're like, what? Double standards? Oh no, my bad. Just projection, of course.
Yeah, it seemed like he had a different interpretation or definition of the words. I mean, he used the words that everybody says, but he definitely had a different definition for it.
Oh, he had the Wiggles problem, didn't he? So he says confirmed for whether or not a scientific hypothesis is going to be validated or invalidated. And he's like, no, it doesn't prove anything. It confirms it. And then later, it's like, you said it confirms. Validates, confirms, proves, all the same thing. No, I misspoke.
Yeah.
I meant let and wait. It's like, oh yeah, Wiggles, the gas will fill the space. What's that you say? That's a misquote. It won't fill the space. Oh no, you've already said it, dickhead. That quote's going to go permanently between those two quotation marks, I'm afraid, whether you like it or not.
Who plays around with a word with confirmed and validates and says that they're 2 miles apart from each other?
Exactly.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Sleeping Warrior, 10th Man, and Paul. Very good to have you all.
Good morning.
Yo.
Paul did say it'd be in front of his mic sporadically, so we'll maybe hear from Paul a bit later. So, any signs of Earth curvature, gentlemen?
Just
Not
a little
today.
bit of obstruction. Could be anything.
Could be a limited angle, could be perspective. Definitely not Earth curve though. Hey Nathan Thompson, how you doing?
Good. Glad to be here.
Just in time for
Tim's got a
housekeeping.
list of things it could be.
Did you have one of the commenters before the show started, Nathan, said that you'd had a debate with Mick West? Is that right?
Live in Vegas in about a week.
Oh wow, how did that go?
Sorry, Nathan, what was that?
How did it go?
Have to go?
Sorry, is it past or future tense? Are you having a debate with Mick West in the future, or have you had the debate?
It's in a week in Vegas. It's at the Exiting the Matrix Expo. It's being held by Mike Hughes. He's the rocket man that keeps shooting himself in the air.
Mad Mike Hughes, yeah, right. So you're debating Mick West at an expo with Mad Mike Hughes. Cool. Well, obviously you can't tell me how it's going to go. Any planned subjects to talk about with Mick West?
Were you asking me, Nathan? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What was the question?
What are you planning on discussing with him?
We're going to debate the shape of the Earth, and I'm going to go over his lack of evidence for curvature, Earth's rotation, and I don't know if we'll even get past that, but we'll see.
Stuff? Right, let's continue with housekeeping. Any evidence of axial rotation? Hey Spurs, didn't see you there.
Hi. When is this debate happening? I missed the date. The date.
Yeah, the date is, let me double check so I don't say the wrong date, May 26th.
Okay. Fantastic.
And tickets are on sale at madmikehughes.com.
Oh, it's a live debate. Right.
Sorry, Spurs. Say the website again. Say the website again.
Madmikehughes.com, and it's going to be on pay-per-view. And tickets are only like $10 per day, guys. So it's not like $200 the way that the New Zealand conference was. Very affordable. And he's also going to split the profits up between the speakers. So I think he's doing a good thing out there.
Good stuff. Any more Spurs, or shall I carry on with housekeeping?
No. I just wanted to know when it was. Yeah, fantastic.
Cool. Yeah, check out madmikehughes.com. Is it just Mike Hughes or Mad Mike Hughes?
Mad Mike Hughes.
Madmikehughes.com if you want a ticket. Nathan Thompson versus. So
Thank
check
you.
it out.
Thank you very much.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No, not really. The only thing that we've really got really is stars, the celestial sphere.
I've heard you can put water in a bucket and spin it around.
That's true. Thanks for that.
You spin it around both ways, though, right?
This conversation is draining.
It's interesting. It's interesting you should say that, because that was when, as a kid, the cognitive dissonance sort of started to set in, or must have set in, because I remember being told about gravity, going home and spinning a bucket round, and going, why isn't it all flying off then? There's an outside edge to the bucket. And I must have been about, I don't know, 8 or 9, or pretty young, and thinking, this makes no sense. So, yeah.
I think Nathan's picking up when you're talking, Nathan. Yeah,
I'm gonna go on mute when he talks. Sorry, guys. I'm kind of new to the whole debate thing on here.
That's all right. We're used to
Maybe that bucket needed a cover on it.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't a container at all. Yeah, moving on. Any evidence of what's next? Gas pressure next to a vacuum?
No evidence for that whatsoever. It's purely make believe unless somebody can prove it.
I think in the electric universe has an answer for this, but I'll have to speak to the electric universe people a little bit more about this. because they have a little bit different understanding with the helios. It's similar, but a little bit different. So there may be something, but like I said, I'll get back to you on that.
The only time there's gas pressure next to a vacuum is when you're vacuuming and you fart.
Tumbleweeds.
No evidence of gas pressure. No, you can't have gas pressure next to without a container, Nathan. But they all try arguing that you can. It's mad.
Right,
But what if it's electric? Is electric nothing? Could not be anything.
It could be, but it comes under spitballing this. So although it's interesting to talk about, it's moot.
Yeah.
We need to be attacking the claim that's made rather than spitballing about the claim that's not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as of yet, no evidence of that. Then.
No.
Yeah, we don't want to. I did this with you last time, and now Sleeping Warrior, and I totally agree with you, Sleeping Warrior. There's no need for our just so story when there's actually a claim in place. So when we get strawmanned with the dome or asked why the sky is retaining the gas, I say I don't know. I don't know what the sky is. But it makes no difference when there is absolutely a claim in place that most of the Western world believe is true. The claim being that the sky is a vacuum. So I make no assertions. I have no idea what the sky is. It was one of the first questions I asked when I came to this topic. Well, what's the sky then? Right? Well, I don't know. I still don't. And if I find out or not makes no difference. If there's a claim in place that it's a bloody vacuum, defying the law of entropy, that makes a big difference. So everybody who thinks they're on a ball hurtling through a vacuum, well, you're standing in violation of a law of nature. That can't possibly be the case. You've just been lied to. Now, what's the sky? I don't care. You know, I don't need to come up with a just so story to take my pants down and take a big dump on the current claim.
I was listening to
Hey, John.
Jose's channel the other day with that Sean Hawkins guy. That guy is an utter idiot. Really bad. I mean, one of many claims that he said was that he basically pulled the burden of proof reversal card, and his justification for doing it was that he said we've got 2,000 years worth of previous scientific consensus, acceptance, knowledge, and he said, you're challenging all that. You're going to have to produce the proof that it's wrong. And I was like,
What?
Sean, that's not how it works. The claim is we live on a sphere. That's the claim. We're asking for the proof. It is up for you guys to prove that we live on a sphere. It's not okay to say we've got to prove it's flat. Don't be ridiculous. You're claiming it's a sphere. You're claiming thousands of years worth of experiments and observations and this, that, and the other. And what do you know? We've had 950 shows or whatever one, and we don't have any evidence to prove that we live on a sphere. And there should be lots of evidence for it if Sean Hawkins' position is true. But we've been asking and asking and asking and asking, and we're getting nowhere. So Sean Hawkins, I don't know what planet you're on, but you're not on planet Earth. You have to produce the evidence to show that we live on a sphere. It is up to you. It's not up to us to prove that it's flat. We're not making the claim it's flat. Yeah, it might be flat. I think it could be a bigger ball, maybe. I'm not saying anything in terms of what it actually is. I'm just saying that you guys can't prove your claim to be true, and you expect everybody to accept and believe it. No, I want to see the proof. Sean, it's up to you guys to produce the evidence. Please understand, it's you that's making the assertion, not us. We're just asking for proof that it's true.
Oh, I'll make a claim if you don't want.
I'll make a claim
Yeah, I don't
too.
mind. I said first, John. Right, the Earth is obviously and observably flat. Any assertion that the Earth is curved comes with a hijacking of perspective. So there is no claim in that regard. And like the high priests of scientism, or pseudoscience, depending on what you want to call it, will declare that we have two reference frames and footballs are going into field goals because the Earth turns underneath, they will also declare the obvious and observable nature of our reality and say that stuff is flat. Yeah, obviously and observably. All of the explanations from the ball side have to negate the fact that it's obviously and observably flat. So I will make that claim, no problem. You go ahead if you want to say a different claim, John.
Yeah, I do. It's most definitely flat, non-spinning, domed, and geocentric. I already showed that a number of times. Go see Flat Earth proofs. Now on to the next subject.
Well, no, I'll plug the
Spurs-
show. I'll plug the show. Ballbusters. So on Saturday, 2 days from now, if you're watching this broadcast, number 8. What is it? 35. I think we're on 835. Yeah. So on in 2 days from now, there'll be Ballbusters, and we'll be covering the nonsensical, moronic arguments that are put forth by globetards who believe they live on a spinning ball flying through a vacuum of space. So that's what Ballbusters 10 will be about. Monumental. So if you want some demolitions of globetard arguments, that's the show for you. Be here or be sphere.
I could chime in also with you and John by saying the second law of thermodynamics proves they're wrong.
Yeah, on a number of different fronts. I'd like to get back to Spurs chemo. Electric universe, guys? Those are ball-tards.
Well, as you know, I'm in the Discord, and there is one guy, you probably know, Mr. Grimm.
Mr. Grimm?
Yeah, he puts forward.
He's one of those. Yeah, I know him. I met him about 2.5 years ago. He was one of the guys on that tattooed Jabba the Hutt Ken Wheeler nonsense that was trying to disprove the double slit experiment by single slit diffraction, right? That's tantamount to attempting to disprove liquid water by showing a friggin' ice cube. So there is no innuendo here about this electric universe answer to the gas pressure without a container argument. Let's get that straight right now. And they're ballers.
Hey, Adam.
Cool.
Afternoon, gentlemen.
Howdy.
Just say electric. What's up, Adam?
Hey, Adam.
Just say now the electric. There's something with electric. No, there's not.
Just do
it was just just something that they an alternative, right?
Yeah, they say a lot of things, don't they?
Well, before you get into the day, so if, again, watching 835, I think this show is tomorrow, there'll be Iron Realm Media, so it's about 4:30 Central, 10:30 UK, and that's over on Iron Realm Media with the Adam Meakin and Walt and many others.
Yeah,
who else is on?
That's kind of why I jumped in a little bit. Saturday's my lad's birthday, Nathan, so I'm going to be out and about and missing Ballbusters this week, but I was describing to Walt and Josh, and obviously Josh is handling this stuff. He's been invited back onto Paranormal Wednesdays on a local, radio network out in Missouri, dealing with these kind of baller questions. So I didn't know if I could offer you a 2-for-1, 2 IRM members for the price of 1 this week.
Oh, I'll take a twofer.
I thought it'd be a lot better placed, as well as me obviously being partying. So, yeah, the guys wouldn't mind that if you're amenable to it.
Sounds good. Is Mr. Thompson still here?
Oh, hold on.
No, I mean, I was just checking that he was still here. That was all. But yeah, that sounds good, Adam. Absolutely.
Well, like I say, Josh is dealing with that. Do you know what I mean? That's what this phone-in's for, and he is a lot more eloquent than I.
Have we finished housekeeping?
That date then.
We haven't. We will get to the end of housekeeping. I just want everyone to get their piece in as they join. Normally something's on the tip of most people's lips when they join. They've got a reason. Any more for any more? We'll move on in housekeeping if not.
Yeah, go on. Move on.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Ooh. Ooh. Might be something. Nathan, present my screen, sir.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so share this. Right. Right, so would anybody disagree with me if I said you're not allowed to infer extra causes in scientific method?
I covered this in the pre-show. So, an independent variable must be real, capable of being varied and manipulated by you, the researcher, and it is your presumed cause. So there's no inference if you're manipulating it, right?
So can we say presumed cause in the experiment? Because I was listening to this, and when we read those definitions out for you, Tony, I think they're trying to confuse again a little bit. That they
are doing. They are doing. All right, let me make a couple of points here, right? This is going to really demonstrate. You know that basically I've been pushing that relative density does seem to be creating its own force. It does seem to displace all by itself, as if by magic. Check this out. Blue Marble's video that he's ignored the conclusion of. I'm going to make the point here. It basically says, before we can discuss inference to the best explanation, we must be clear on what the explanation is. This involves the notion of causation and also of inference. This is from University of UBC. I think it was Southern California. Can't remember. Doesn't matter. What he says is, one of the most common confusions is thinking about causation, even among philosophers. It is to get it mixed up with inference. Don't make this mistake. Now, basically, ballers tell us that when an object moves down, gravity's pulling on it. If an object moves up, there is a buoyant force pushing it. It's caused by gravity. That's what they tell us. Now, the problem is there are other explanations for what we can demonstrate to be the cause of the movement. But Rumpus tells us that density isn't a cause, weight is a force. So I'm like, okay. So for ages, I just generally accepted it because I believed and accepted that he was probably telling us the truth. I never really thought to challenge it. I want to read this citation from Christine Huygens. If you're not sure who Christine Huygens is, it's the same bloke that assumed that Venus was the same size as Earth. And he's also the same bloke that assumed that Earth was a sphere for the purposes of calculating the distance to the sun. I'm going to highlight this bit here. This bit. I'm only going to read up to that bit. He's talking about light in 1678. One finds in this subject a kind of demonstration which does not carry with it so high a degree of certainty as that employed in geometry, and which differs distinctly from the method employed by geometers in that they prove their propositions by well-established and incontrovertible principles, while here principles are tested by the inferences that are derivable from them. The nature of the subject in relation to light permits no other treatment. So when you're talking about things that doesn't have another treatment, then you can infer cause. But where you do have another treatment, like scientific method, you can't. It's that simple. Now, people say, well, Rumpus tells us that you can't have density as a force because density it's not a force. He says that weight is a force. This is a picture of a small clip from a plastic bottle filled up to the very, very top with water. There's no air.
Before you do the diver, Tony, just with what he just said there on that quote, why would you want to infer something if what you're investigating has a method that you could apply which gives you not inference, but a definitive cause and effect answer? Would only fall back to inference if you can't apply.
To deceive.
Yeah, there is no inference in the scientific method. Zero.
No,
correct.
Hold on. I think that's Anthony's point. That's
Yeah.
the point he's making.
All right.
Yeah.
Good
To deceive.
point.
The only reason why you would do that would be to deceive, because you can't infer extra causes. Now, Rumpus says that you can't have density as a force, only weight as a force. This is a little teat pipette or a little dabber. I'm not sure what other people call these things in America, but we call them teat pipettes. And it's got a small section of air in it. And all that happens is you fill this up with water, little bit of air in there. And basically, the idea is that if you compress the air by applying pressure, you will reduce the amount of air that's in here. The fluid will fill it up. It'll change the density of the teat pipette, and that will force it to displace. Now, Rumpus tells us that, well, no, because density is not a force. Well, if that's true, if density is not a force, then literally this teat pipette should never move when we squash the sides of the bottle and reduce the size of the air bubble inside. And obviously, as you can see, this is what he's doing. He's squeezing it, and then it drops, and then he lets go of it, releases the pressure, and then the bubble gets bigger again, and then it goes back up. Now, ballers will say, yeah, that's because there's a buoyant force. There's a force pulling it down. There's a force pushing it back up. Well, that may well be true, but what is the force? Well, we're adjusting the density, aren't we, by applying a bit of pressure. That's a bit like me with the salt. When I add a little bit of salt to the egg pressure, to the egg solution, that I can make that egg move just by adding a little bit of salt. Well, these are making the teat pipette move just by doing changing a little bit of pressure. It squashes and compresses the gas that's in the teat pipette. So Rumpus is saying that density is not a force, weight is. So the minute he applies weight mathematics, he can then explain this with gravity, right? Because he's implying gravity in the maths. Well, we've just seen that you can't imply gravity, or you can't imply extra causes when it's or when there's already an established principle, because we do have other ways of doing this. It's called scientific method. You can't imply extras. So the minute you call this weight, therefore it's a force, therefore you can infer gravity. No, it's clear. You can't do that in scientific method. You can do it outside of scientific method, fake science, pseudoscience, but you can't do it within. So this Cartesian diver is a problem, because what we can demonstrate is by changing the density of the teat pipette, by allowing more fluid to go into it, it will make that thing move. Now, if it moves, according to Newton at least, F equals ma, you've then got an acceleration. So there has to be a force. It appears that density is actually causing a displacement, because we're adjusting how much density is in there without changing anything else. We apply a little bit of pressure, it reduces the bubble, the thing drops. You let go of it, and it goes back up again. Oh, it didn't go quite far enough back there. There you go. So he squeezes it, it drops, and then he lets go of it, and it goes back up. He's literally directly changing the density of what's in there by compressing the gas. So it appears that force is, it appears that density is a force, because we can manipulate the density, as I did with the egg, as this guy's doing with the teat pipette. And that means that we can cause movement. And if we cause movement, mass accelerating, that is a force. So I don't know how the ballers can argue that density, relative density, displacement is not a force, because it is demonstrable that we can cause disequilibrium by changing the thing and then making it move. So why are you guys denying science? That's my question. Or have I got the science wrong? Because it doesn't support your position, does it?
Thanks, Anthony.
Done.
That was awesome. Can I just say a quick hello to new guest? Try thinking. How are you doing? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Very good to have you.
Yes, I can. Thank you very much. Is it? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Sweet. Thank you.
Hey, Anthony, can I ask you a question about your relative density argument?
Absolutely. Come on.
Have you heard about levitating objects by adding an electrostatic charge?
I've heard of quantum levitation. I've not heard of electrostatic levitation. Tell me more.
Okay, so I'm not super familiar, but if what I'm hearing is correct, and Tesla did it with the plates, is that it's not that's causing things to rise and fall. It's disequilibrium. It's a better example, because that's what you're creating when you add salt to the water and make the egg rise.
That's right.
Is you're creating a disequilibrium.
Yeah, that's what Arwin calls density buoyancy disequilibrium, and he's right. If we've got two factors, this is where there's a little bit of confusion, and I think Nathan's a little bit responsible, so I'll just correct Nathan. Forgive me, Nathan. When you have a bowling ball on a table, the table is stopping that bowling ball from falling. The bowling ball is, although it's at rest, it's not in a state of equilibrium, because its density relative to the medium in which it's in is massively out of whack. That's why they weigh quite a lot of weight. But if you drop that bowling ball in water, the density of the bowling ball is a lot closer to the water, the density of the water. So it may fall at a slower rate. It may suspend itself in the middle like the egg does, or it may actually float because it isn't dense enough to the water. But where you've got a weight, and you know when they say things like, well, put it on scales, what you're actually measuring when you measure it, when you put something on scales, you're measuring how far away from its equilibrium position that thing actually is. And the scales are acting as a fall arrest. So basically what my point is that if you've got an object that's suspended without any fall arrest to it, that's in equilibrium. Where you've got an object that's got something stopping it from falling further, and that would include a helium balloon on the underside of a shelf. If you apply a helium balloon to the underside of a shelf, that's going to stop moving up. The shelf is stopping it. That's a fall arrest. So that would register a weight if you had a set of scales upside down. So what you're really measuring is how far out of equilibrium the object is. And that's why you get this thing called weight. Really, what you're measuring is how much out of equilibrium it really is. And that's what we're measuring, and that's what we're told. And I'll give you an example. If you get a helium balloon and you pull it down and let go of it, it'll go back up to find the point where it normally wants to settle. If you pull that helium balloon on the underside of a shelf, then there's a force applying on the underside of the shelf. If you pull that helium balloon under the water in a swimming pool, that force is really severe. It wants to burst out of there. And obviously that goes against the idea of weight, but you're doing it the opposite way around. So really what you're doing is when you're dealing with what we commonly call weight, you're just pulling an object out of its state of equilibrium. That's all.
Yep.
Just going to do a couple of shout outs. So shout out to Del West Watson, who says, Nathan Thompson is ace. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Really appreciate it. We've also been joined by Arwin and Jose Gonzalez. Good to have you both.
Hello.
Morning. I just came in. I just need 30 seconds. There's a challenge for Quantum Eraser to debate George Natiuk anywhere but in Nathan Oakley channel and the Betty Discord server. So George Natiuk will take on Quantum Eraser in any channel of your choice.
Give me a
Any
break.
subject that you want.
I'm not
Thank you very much.
debating retards. You debate them.
Hang on a sec. Let me just let people know.
Hey, Anthony, can we carry on with that gravity thing? I want to add something to that.
Yeah, so basically what you're doing is if you get the egg whilst it's in neutral buoyancy, if you pull the egg up, basically you're pulling it into a state that it's too heavy for, and it'll go back down to where it rests. If you pull that egg down, you're pulling it into a state where that egg is too light for it, and it'll go up to our perception. But it's neither up nor down. It's just going into its state of equilibrium based on its density.
Now you said it wrong. Weight is based on.
Don't say weight.
But you said it.
All right, let me re-say
Light
it.
and heavy is
Okay, before you do
based
re-say
on
it,
weight.
I'll just say hello to our new guest. Hey, Physics Warrior, can you hear us? Hey, Physics Warrior.
Hi, Nathan. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey,
Good
good morning,
talking.
crew.
Yeah,
Haven't
so
missed
just
anybody.
finishing off.
Yeah,
the
thank
egg, when it's suspended in its liquid, if it's not stopped from moving and it's sat in total suspension, that's in equilibrium, right? If you pull it down and you pull it out of equilibrium, it will find its level again by raising back to where it was. Equally, if you pull it up out of its equilibrium and let go of it, it'll go back down to where it's come from. Always, because that's relative density, right? It's finding its equilibrium. Don't know why it does it. You'd have to ask God, because that's the rule of nature. It just does it like an elastic band. It'll just go back to where it should do, right? Either way. And it's the same for all objects. It's relative to the medium, and you can pull it out of disequilibrium or you can pull it into disequilibrium, and you can watch that it'll either move or not move depending on the medium it's in. That's literally what I demonstrated with the parts per million counter the other day. Ballers don't like that. They don't think that demonstrated density, but it did. They just don't accept that. They wanted it to be done with something called a hydrometer, but that's calibrated for something called gravity. It's begging the question. If you do that, you're just affirming you're affirming or reifying this concept of gravity that we know is nonsense. So no, this is why I saw Jaren's video and realized I can use that to demonstrate the amount of particulates in a liquid. So I did, and ballers just hate it.
I've got to strap something on in that bit just so it just gets curtailed onto that particular point. So in terms of begging the question, you've told Arwin off for not using the word weight. I know his point is that you use the word weight, but for the audience's benefit, can you explain why that's begging the question also?
Why? What's begging the question?
When you use weight, it's just part of their mathematics. I'm hopefully leading you so you can retain this point. It's the same point.
The thing is, when we say weight, we mean it colloquially. But if we mean it within physics, right, it's got little g in there. Mathematically speaking, it's got little g. Now, I really should use the phrase mass. I should use the phrase mass relative to the medium's mass that you're in.
I would stay away from that term. If I were you, I would stay away from mass.
Well, I don't know what word to use.
What about just using energy?
I don't know what other word to use. Energy is going to confuse.
Don't use
I'm
any
all right
word.
with
Just
mass.
stay away from
I don't care what the interpretation or the definition of mass is. We all understand what mass is.
Hold on, let me get it. The question is, what are you trying to describe, and what's the context? So give me a sentence that you would alternatively have used the word mass in. We'll see what the context is and see what the appropriate word, if one has to be used at all. So you tell me what
Objects seem to seek their equilibrium position always. Don't know why. just the way it is. It's the same way. It's the same that hot always seems to go to cold, and pressure always seems to go to non-pressure. Objects always seek out their position of equilibrium relative to the medium. That's why you've got to put things like a table underneath a bowling ball to stop it from falling. Because if you didn't have the table there and you had a channel that was like down to the point of where it would find its equilibrium, I mean, how far that would go, who knows? But my point is that it's always seeking its equilibrium. Don't know why, it just is. It's just the way it is. But it is a trait that we see, and we can test it. But ballers deny it at all costs. But it's clear that you can have a force by virtue of disequilibrium. And Arwin gets this. I'm not sure whether he'll agree with me now, because he likes to disagree with me always. But Arwin gets that this is out of equilibrium. And if it's out of equilibrium and then it can freely move back to equilibrium, it will do always.
Okay.
Just the way it is.
If I can just put that through my concisometer. So, objects seek equilibrium.
Yeah. And
can I add something to that, guys?
Yeah,
no, before you do, there's no mass in there. You didn't use the word mass once.
True.
Go ahead, Nathan.
I think that's something that's important, is to recognize that they're always talking about gravity relative to the Earth, and then they'll ask ridiculous questions like, "Well, why don't things fall sideways?" No. Why don't things fall?
Things do fall sideways. Think about it. If you fill a bucket up, right, you can't fill a bucket up with vertical strips of water. As you fill it up at the bottom and it's the resistance, it fills sideways, and it'll do that all the way up.
I got you, but what they're saying is, why don't things fall in air sideways? And what I'm trying to say is, on your model with gravity, it should. You should be able to hold a grain of sand next to a massive cruise liner and watch the cruise liner attract the grain of sand or cut the grain of sand in half. But it's always down.
I agree. You should be able to walk past a cruise liner and get sucked into it because of the force of attraction between you and it.
Or just your hair. At least your hair should stick up because of the gravity or something. But here's the thing: is it's all the vectors are downward, and then also the gravity force should be getting stronger as you get to Earth's surface. But with the Red Bull jump, he not only didn't have Earth rotate under him for 3 hours, disproving Coriolis, but he deaccelerated as he approached Earth's surface, and the opposite should happen because the force should be getting exponentially stronger.
Correct. That was where Fight the Flat Earth. If you look at the hangout I had with Fight the Flat Earth and he made that assertion, things would accelerate towards the Earth. And I showed him Felix Baumangard at the time. You should have seen his face. It was as if he was chewing a wasp. It was as if Mike Tyson had gone in there whilst he's got a mouthful of bees and just punched shit out of his face. And he was like, shit, I wasn't expecting that.
The only person worse than Fight the Flat Earth is Brenda. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Fight the Flat Earth's terrible. I don't know how he's even popular. He's just the main rhetoric guy for their current position.
I did get a concession from him that his mass flow meter was not proof of Coriolis. I almost threw a party. I thought I could hear angels in heaven singing.
Well, you said something just a few seconds ago about disproving Coriolis. He didn't disprove Coriolis. He disproved Coriolis in relation to the Earth. Be specific. Get it right.
So long as we all understand that relative density is relative to the medium it's in, if there's not something that's stopping the object from moving, like a shelf or a table, then that object is in a state of equilibrium, right? If it's sat on a shelf, although it's not moving, that's not in a state of equilibrium because the shelf or the table's stopping it from moving. If we understand that, we can basically batter these ballers every single time because literally we can demonstrate it.
Also, according to them, mass is the resistance to force. Yet gravity loves massive objects, and more massive objects are more influenced by gravity. So it's like the opposite of what we observe. It's harder to push, it's harder to move massive objects, but gravity actually moves massive objects easier than it moves.
I think we have to. Let me stop you there because I'm starting to get nauseated with this gravity term. Listen, they're just making this shit up. All right.
Yeah.
Every time I hear gravity, I hear invisible three-toed gnomes, and then all these flat earthers are stepping and fetching, fumbling and stumbling over themselves to try to give an alternate explanation to invisible three-toed gnomes. You don't have to do that. Just pummel the three-toed gnomes.
I'm going to do a quick shout out to Defund NASA. So somebody in the chat got a bit irate and was like, read the super chat. Mass settles down relative to the medium it resides. That's from Defund NASA. Thank you very much for the super chat. I really do appreciate it. I would definitely have shouted you out, I promise.
Yeah, well, he's saying mass too. Well, define mass.
Indeed.
Yeah, there's two definitions for mass.
I was giving their definition of it is resistance to force.
Hey,
and
Nathan Thompson, if you, what vehicle are you driving right now?
I'm in a Fiat.
A Fiat. So if you broke down at the roadside in that Fiat
Highly
and you needed
likely.
somebody to give you what?
Said highly likely.
Yeah, fix it again tomorrow, right? But yeah, Nathan Thompson, if you broke down in your Fiat and you needed somebody to give you a push, and a good-willed member of the public came up to you and said, yeah, I'll give you the push, but I can only push you at a 50 millionth of the object's weight, your vehicle's weight, whatever that weight is. Would you think that that guy would be of any use to you whatsoever?
Not at all, no.
But that's what they tell us gravity is. It's a
I
50
don't know,
millionth of the
with that
object's
sort of
weight
force,
according
you
to
could-
Henry Cavendish.
I think with that sort of force, you could easily push through the bodywork on a Fiat.
Maybe.
Oh, and it's not
Also,
Cavendish either. It's not Cavendish. Get it right. It's Reverend John Michel or Michelle Cavendish. So get that right.
And let's not forget that he was superseded by Einstein, who said that it was parts in a trillion and down was the direction in which time slows.
I don't care what he says.
let's
It
not
wasn't an
lose
experiment
context.
anyway.
I know, it's nonsense. It's complete garbage, you
Yeah,
guys.
so who cares
Honest
what
to
he
God,
says?
Honest to God, it seems to be the case that so long as we're arguing about gravity, whether it be Einsteinian or Newtonian, so long as we're arguing about gravity, that's what they want us to do. Notwithstanding
care
the
what
fact
they
that
want
there's
us to
no
do.
evidence for it.
I don't care what they want us to do. The tail's not wagging the dog here. Right? There is no such thing as invisible three-toed gnomes, i.e. gravity.
Okay, just to slightly bring this back on track. So a second ago, Anthony, you gave one particular gravity a term. You called it, what was it, Newtonian gravity by any chance?
Yeah.
So John Off-Air has been speaking to this recently in regards to Newton's specific regards when it comes to gravity. I don't know, John, is there any chance you can remind us of what that was?
Negative.
Sorry?
Negative.
No. Oh, okay. He didn't want to be ascribed gravity.
Oh, that part. Okay.
Let us
Hold on one second. Let's go over that.
Describe it, you said?
This is important. This is important. So we've just had an explanation for what makes up, and I'm going to phrase this carefully, Reverend John Mitchell or / Cavendish gravity, which is what it will now be called.
Yeah, I'm removing, like I said before on the gravity presentation, I'm removing Isaac Newton's name from the whole invisible three-toed gnome discussion. Why am I doing that? Well, in a letter to Richard Bentley on 25 February 1692, Isaac Newton says, listen to this closely. 'Tis inconceivable that inanimate brute matter should, without mediation of something else, which is not material, operate upon and affect other matter without mutual contact, as it must be if gravitation, in the sense of Epicurus, be essential and inherent in it. And this is one reason why I desired you would not ascribe innate gravity to me, that gravity should be innate, inherent, and essential to matter, so that one body may act upon another at a distance through a vacuum without mediation of anything else, by and through which their action and force may be conveyed from one force to another, is to me so great an absurdity that I believe no man who has in philosophical matters a competent faculty of thinking can ever fall into. Gravity must be caused by an agent acting constantly according to certain laws. But whether this agent be material or immaterial, I have left to the consideration of my readers. End of citation.
He basically said, yeah, apparent force disequilibrium, it's not really something. That's what it comes down to.
Moreover, he's saying, I want no part of it. So another shout out to Defund NASA, who says, mass is a collection of matter. That's a mole, Defund NASA.
Yeah. And also, he never claimed the hypothesis, by the way. I thought you were actually going to cite that. But
yeah, that's the next one.
Well, that's far more... If you ask me, he's talking personally, right? It's in a letter. So, yeah, while he might say in the... you say Principia?
Yes, that's after the Principia was published.
Right, so in that he might say, you know, I feign no hypothesis for gravity. In this, he's making it much more explicit. In the letter, he's saying, don't attribute this to me.
He also
guess what happened? It was historically attributed to him. How ironic.
That's right. Einstein took it off him in 1915 with his general relativity, where he snaps the wand in two that Craig loves. Shout out to Craig, dickhead.
I like how he said you got to be an unthinking, senseless brute to believe it.
Well, he does. He's quite firm, isn't he? But polite, and does point out that if he did believe that there's some magical force acting on them, basically, to paraphrase, you're mental, is what he's saying, isn't he? You have. He's quite clear about it, and then
not with reasonable cognitive faculties, he says. I interrupt you because I wanted to shout someone out, Adam. Basically, shout out to the Raw Caveat for the super chat. Thank you very much indeed. Sorry, Adam.
No, that was
Nathan, read the super chat.
I know quantum wants to move on from the gravity thing, but I think if gravity were real, we would see all the heavenly bodies attracting to all the other heavenly bodies. We wouldn't have constellations and perfect star patterns and all that.
You mean invisible three-toed gnomes?
Yes, exactly.
I've always been confused why the moon and the sun, when they have the collective gravitational forces pulling the Earth, why doesn't it pull the Earth out of its axis, out of its orbit, or why doesn't?
Gnomes.
Nonsense.
That's what we're back to. You keep on saying gravity. I'm substituting that term every time I hear it now. Maybe it'll get through.
What should we substitute it with?
Three-toed gnomes.
Say again?
Unicorn farts, three-toed gnomes, magic mushrooms, whatever you like. Make up some bullshit and insert it instead of the word gravity. It works just as well.
I'm stopping everyone. Every time I hear that word, I'm stopping them dead in their tracks. I'm sick of it.
I did the same with outer space, John.
I agree.
Have you noticed? I substitute outer space with sky vacuum.
Yeah, I like that.
Like, what is outer space again? A thermodynamics violation. Well, let's just say it like it is then. Sky vacuum. And people go, shit, what do you mean sky vacuum? The sky's not a vacuum. Well, no, you're right, it's not. Thanks for
that. Let me just, with regards to George Nathan, you can quantum eraser. George told me personally that he would not go on Nathan's without an invoice. He wants to charge
Wait
Nathan
a second. We're not talking about, I'm sorry, retards. This is the gentleman that came on here. First, he's a scumbag. Number two, he said in front of God and everyone that closed thermoses are open systems, right? And he doesn't know what the scientific method is. He doesn't know what a hypothesis. He doesn't know what an experiment is. I'm not debating retards. So, Jose, you're a retard, so you debate him. Retard versus retard. We'll all show up.
The thing is, though, with Jose, he might be a retard, but we like Jose because he's generally a nice kind of guy. He doesn't bring people's licensing authority up and try and get them sacked. I don't care about
niceness. I'm not here for niceness. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to establish the truth.
Right.
All right?
There is a door open. Because people would assert that the truth is subjective and you haven't really got the truth and blah, blah, blah. The door is open for anything stated here to be challenged. George has come in that door and challenged it. He got absolutely obliterated. Now he doesn't want to come back. He wants to go somewhere else. He wants you to go to him. Well, this is exactly the same situation I get with Red's rhetoric. I'll give him the same exact Explanation. You have two choices. Number one, if you, George Netanyahu, want to debate John, then you can. You click the link, you join, you debate him. He's here right now. I'm sure a member of the panel would drop, as we currently have a full panel, but you can if you want to. Now, I don't know if you heard what John says, but it sounds to me like he couldn't care less about debating you because he views you as a moron. So he's not too concerned, but it's pretty clear from your little bitch Jose, who toddled along like the good dog he is to pass on the message, that you do want to debate him. And there's a door and a means for you to do that, you bloody coward. Now, the fact that you want it on your terms means you're saying, I want to debate you. Yeah, we know that, George. On my terms. Oh, go fuck yourself, George. Yeah, if you want to debate him, you can. John doesn't. He's not interested in you. He thinks you're an idiot. Same with me and Reds. I don't give a crap about Reds. He's a moron. The guy just worships at the altar of R. I would obliterate him in about 5 seconds. Now he's got his tactics, as opposed to winning arguments, that he can employ on his turf. I don't give a shit what he wants. If he wants to debate me based on anything I assert here, he can. There's a door and a link, and I put my channel at risk daily to provide it. Well, you want me, do you? Oh, that's nice. I'm flattered. What's that you say? You want certain conditions for your want of me? Go fuck yourself.
Shout out to George's crusty old dick.
That went down like a lead balloon.
What needs to be said after that? He's exactly correct.
He is, I agree. The thing is, right, love Nathan or hate Nathan, the thing is, all the people that go into Jose's are the ghosts and the ghoulies that used to come in here that are dead and they're living a second life. They're only in the Jose's because they can't come in here. That's the reality. I like Jose, but he allows them in because he needs the audience. The reality is they can come in here
Yeah,
and they can challenge
exactly.
us with
They
science.
can. Not that they can't come in here. They make this decision not to, which is a wise decision, I must say. Clowns.
Yeah. But let it be said, let it not be said that this is an echo chamber, because it isn't. Anybody can join. You just know you're going to die.
I've just
That's why they
But
don't.
you do have to mute your watch page though, or it
I've just
will be.
thought of a toe tag analogy. So these guys in Jose's, when I've gone in and glanced for a few moments to hear the audio chaos that is that show, shout out to Jose. I hope you do well. In YouTube terms, I wish him every well. You know, I hope he does well. But in terms of Flat Earth, no. What you've got in there is, as Anthony puts it, the corpses of this show. And they've all got toe tags. So next time you see one of those Muppets, ask them what their toe tag number is. Because that's what these shows are. Little death tags that they can have clipped to them. So I'm sure they all know their number. Ask them what number they got obliterated on. Because there will be a little number, a Flat Earth debate number, that's attached to each and every one of their toes. Because they are all the corpses of this show. They've all been destroyed. George on multiple occasions. Now he's too scared to come back. And wants his terms meeting for his desire to confront us. Yeah, we don't give you a second thought anymore, you foolish old man.
Yeah, Rufus. That's the new one. Rufus is probably, there's the new toe tag number. He'll probably show up on Jose's channel most immediately, right?
Well, when they have arguments that don't hold up their point, they have to change the subject and say we need a fair panel. But their arguments, if it was real, they can come with those arguments to the show. And they did, and it was disclosed that it wasn't real. So now they're scrambling.
Jose did something different last week. He actually had predominantly was like 5 and 5, but one thing he did that was different. He did a 1-on-1, and he captured a lot of audience with that. So I'm not sure what could happen in the.
With who? 1-on-1 with who?
I think with Mind of God and Sean Hawkins, or Dabbing Good and Sean Hawkins.
Who are they? What is this, like the non-sex show where they grab stiffs off the friggin' street? Right?
Well, one of them will be probably George, but he does go there. So I definitely would like to see you demolish George in the instance.
Just roll back right around 333. episode of
333
this
episode.
debate, just roll back there.
Yeah, let's just go through some of these ballers that have died here. Paul Voigt died here on molten iron core evidence. Ruhif died here on. Well, he had quite a few things against him. I can't remember exactly. Rumpus dies repeatedly on numerous things to do with gravity and sciencey related things, particularly density. He lies about density. I mean, there's a list of people that have came here. Brenda dies. Brenda's got about. She's like a cat. She's got about
Mick
9
West.
lives. Brenda. She gets killed regularly.
Mick
I
West
don't understand
died
why
here.
Brenda keeps coming back.
How about a zombie?
Mick West, he's got a toe tag number. He's got a flat Earth debate number.
Bob the fallacy guy's got a toe tag number.
Bob the fallacy guy. What a retard he is.
Yeah, you know who hasn't got a toe tag? Red Rhetoric.
Yeah, he doesn't want to join,
And
does
that
he?
himself.
If I was Red Rhetoric, I wouldn't join either. I mean, it must be terrible to join a panel with 6 flat earthers or whatever. I mean, how does any flat earther feel when he joins a panel with Reds and there's like 5, 6 ball earthers against you? Yeah, I can understand why you're a little bit scared, Reds. You wouldn't want to join against us, would you? But you expect us to join against you and your cronies.
Yeah, Rumpus died here. Who's that?
I like
Who's
when
that?
they pushed the picture and thought that was curvature, and then they all had a party for 5 minutes saying curvature, curvature, like a bunch of morons.
Runty caught that. So what actually happened was Reds typically will shut down his live streams and then presumably go through them to see which is like complete utter horseshit as opposed to just mild horseshit. And that was obviously in the complete and total horseshit category. But because it's, people are watching and capturing this stuff, Ranty was like, got in touch with me all excited. He gets like this when he's got something really good. He's all excited like a little schoolboy. Look what I've got! And then he dropped it on Jaren. He's like, look at this. And of course Jaren's all over it, like flies on shit. It was great. Because we're all rubbing our hands together too, Reds, going, yeah, what a moron.
Yeah, you don't have to wait long. Just enough to let them open up their pie holes, right? And they shove their whole foot right in it. So you just sit back and just wait. You won't have to wait long. Clowns.
It's always a matter of just pushing it long enough until they start to literally contradict themselves in a single sentence. Because it always ends up there. Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you don't have to wait long, like I said.
Pulling
Hey,
into
set up-
Denver for experiment with I know your guys' best friend Bob Nodell from Glowbusters. You guys heard about that?
Your volume is extremely low.
Did you say experiment?
Yeah, they're doing an experiment.
Really? What's the hypothesis?
Observable phenomena, please.
I think they're testing gravity vectors.
Oh,
I think they're
God.
testing gravity vectors with survey equipment. Sure that they're all down and not converging towards the center of Earth.
So your proof of gravity is a survey?
You mean invisible
No, they're
three-toed
gonna-
gnomes?
they're
If enough people agree that gravity exists, then
Guys, I'm
that's
not
proof.
doing the experiment.
Invisible
I'm going to
three-toed
observe.
gnomes.
So
That's what
don't
you're
try
saying,
and
right?
fucking nail
The
me
proof
to
of
the
invisible
process,
Nathan,
okay?
gnomes.
It's not my thing.
You've come here as the messenger. Now we're going to shoot you.
Gosh, dude, I'm just letting you guys know I'm rolling into town to check out what's going on. I don't know a lot of details.
So what are you
And
observing?
Shit, you guys act like I'm freaking Bill Nye over here saying we live in an enclosed system. Calm down.
Ooh, is that the victim card? That sounds like a victim card to me.
Totally
I woke up
justified
with
too.
no
Are you only passing on the information? Come on, don't shoot the messenger.
Was that the victim card there, Nathan? Sounded like it.
Yeah, you guys are all mean. I'm gonna leave.
You mean?
Hey, listen, we've not started yet. Just wait until the proper baller joins. I mean, I know the cart right now is full, but can you imagine if Rumpus joined and he started telling us that density's not a force? He'd just be. I'd just eat him. I'd eat him like an ice cream.
And with that, I'll say if you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. However, if you're watching this live on Nathan Oakley 1980, unfortunately this is where we bid you farewell. A massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in, smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video. Stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Friendly, it's fine.
It
Sorry
seems
about
like
that. I'll try and mute when I'm not talking, guys. Hey, Quantum, are you there?
He is, but I don't think we can hear you while Nathan's in between shows.
Sorry, it's the wind blowing over the top of the mic. I keep noticing it. I'm sorry if I've destroyed the show with my wind noise. I don't think John is still there, or he's on mute and doesn't realise it. He's probably nipped off because the live show's over temporarily, right?
Hey Nathan, after that last sequence, it's pretty interesting that the show is really fair, because even when the flat earthers say something, everyone gets tizzied up, so the ballers have nothing to complain about.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we're all calling each other out.
Yeah, I mean, it's just fantastic that we're self-correcting in a sense, because we all want to make sure the truth is presented properly. So we're hard on ourselves. So I don't understand why the ballers complain.
They complain because they're crybabies.
Well, they got those other shows they can go to.
Yeah. They do the same thing in the official Flat Earth and Globe discussion, and they just repeat the same nonsense, and then they get booted, and they're like, "Oh, you disagree with it? You boot anyone who disagrees." No, we have Globe Earthers on the moderator and admin team. You guys are just delusional. So, see you
They
later.
are delusional. It's embarrassing. I don't know how anybody can genuinely be a ball earther. I mean, it's bad enough being a flat earther for the ridicule, but for being the equivalent is being a ball earther without the evidence. It's literally as bad for the ridicule as the not having evidence. I'm not sure what's worse. No evidence or ridicule.
Well, there's two definitions of the word insane, and one of them is the inability to perceive reality. So if you walk out of your house every day and think you're on a spinning ball, that is textbook definition of insane. Sorry to say, but
if they want to stay on the show, all they have to do is bring forth evidence. But they're coming on and saying 2 + 2 is 5, and then they wonder why they're being ridiculed.
Does anybody feel dirty when Brenda talks?
I'm tired of her.
She's horrendous.
Not dirty. I just feel the same as any other globe headliner that
She's
comes along.
just a sadomasochist.
Yeah,
she really comes back because she's in the mood. Serious.
I think she's trying to gravitate.
There is no show.
I mean, with her discussions, I've been observing and watching Brenda, and I think by seeing her within this channel, every day she's been coming to this channel as much as she can.
Only when I'm not here.
Yeah.
Getting a lot of feedback. Someone's background mic.
But
I'm gonna go on mute. It's probably me.
What I'm saying is that she's trying to get through her discussion, but what's blocking her is these words and the how we're using it. And sometimes we can, get it when we find out these words, whether she knows what she's saying. So that's where she's at, Nathan. So if you're just coming in with something that you're observing, that's great. It's more general speaking. But when you're coming in with an experiment on something, it's scientific to us. We'd like to see things that's what we're observing that could be a phenomena that you're going to take us through, and hopefully you have something to provide us with information, and then you have to say this that's thought out to it, that you're going to tell us exactly what you're saying. So again, it's these words that we're speaking colloquially, and sometimes we can actually debate on these words too, philosophically.
I think the reason Brenda can't accept anything is it would crush her worldview, where thinks she can be whatever she is.
Brenda once said that DNA is made of amino acids. Now, why are we even talking about this person, right? I mean, let me ask you a question. Let's say Tiger Woods is walking down the 18th, right? Down there at the Masters. And you got Elmer Fudd in the audience. And Elmer Fudd's heckling Tiger Woods. Would Tiger Woods stop what he's doing and entertain anything from Elmer Fudd over there to the left in the gallery?
You silly wappet.
Is Elmer Fudd a cocktail waitress in this example?
This is what I'm talking about, people. So stick with the once you establish that they're retards, move on. Get with the topic. Yeah, I got an attitude problem. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of flat earthers fucking shit up. And we have to go back and fix their nonsense. Right? It seems like we're battling flat earthers now. I'm tired of it.
John,
we're going to talk about this on Ball Busters.
Love is patient and kind. It's not jealous, boastful, proud, or rude.
I'm sick of that shit. I'm sick. Love is patient. Don't play that stuff with me. Don't play it with me. If you don't know what you're talking about, hey, it's all good. You're a flat earther. That's fine. You probably got there from rational thought, thinking through some critical thought, right? No problem. It's a whole nother ball game to come out here and give your take on it when you're not prepared and you haven't done your homework. And it happens every single day. I'm sick of it. Right? If I catch a flat earther out here that doesn't know what they're talking about, they better gird their friggin' loins.
And with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who have joined us in the Nathan Oakley premiering stream. Hopefully for smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Again, if you need to keep yourself occupied after this stream is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!